Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help. And King of Floors, your vinyl, laminate, and engineered flooring superstore.
It is Tuesday, and all of our guests today are sponsored by Skipper Auto. Support Canadian fishing families through a revolutionary seafood buying experience. Check them out online at skipperauto.com. Game 7, Habs over the Leafs by a score of 3-1. The season is over for the Leafs, despite having a 3-1 series lead. The Habs go on to play the Jets. Game 1, by the way, quick turnaround, is tomorrow. All right, here to talk about the Leafs' demise from the Canadian press. He covers the Leafs is Josh Clipperton. Josh, thanks for doing this. How are you, sir?
Very good, guys. How are you doing?
Very well, very well. Who's getting blamed in Toronto for this?
Oh, who isn't, really? The big guns right now, I think the easiest answer, Mitch Marner has not scored a playoff goal or postseason goal, I guess, if you include the bubble, in 18 games now. Austin Matthews, 1 goal. Sheldon Keefe for some of the lineup decisions and the power play. Kyle Dubas, the classic Fire Dubas hashtag was out there last night. The sun did come up this morning, I can confirm, but it's just a lot of questions here. A lot of questions and not many answers right now.
Josh, what do you notice about Mitch Marner in the playoffs versus the regular season?
Last night, I was talking to someone sitting beside me in the press box, 6 feet away, obviously, and I said, I've never seen a star player look so unsure of himself in a big game. Like, it looked like he'd literally forgotten how to play hockey. I don't know if it's the weight of the moment, being a Toronto guy, the pressure, the social media, the history, but he's a different player. I mean, I think he's one of these guys where you push harder and you get less out of yourself. He's such a free-flowing skater, just has great vision. He's in the regular season, but the playoff time, I'm not sure what the issue is. He might not, I'm sure, know what the issue is, but there's definitely an issue. And when you're paying a guy close to $11 million and he has no goals in 18 playoff games, that's a big problem.
How much did Toronto's collapse have to do with the absence of John Tavares?
You know what? It's definitely part of it for sure. The Habs were able to focus on that Matthews and Marner line a lot more with Phil Deneau. And also Nick Foligno was not healthy and he missed a couple games as well. That's 2 of your top 6 forwards in the lineup that weren't there. And the emotional toll of the Tavares thing stunned the team. I think it stunned both teams early. The Habs obviously responded in Game 1, but the Leafs bounced back. But as the series wore on, you could just see that Toronto didn't have an answer for the defensive play against Marner and Matthews. And, they feasted on power plays during the regular season when the power play was working earlier, and they just weren't getting those power plays. We know how the game gets called in the postseason sometimes, or most times, and they weren't able to create space at 5-on-5. They did only get scored on once at 5-on-5. It was that Gallagher goal last night, which was a terrible goal for Jack Campbell to give up. But they didn't offer much going forward. They didn't get to the hard areas. They had possession. All the underlying stats looked fine, but the eye test wasn't there, and that's why they are where they are.
Hey, Josh, we get this question in this market almost on a daily basis, year after year. Major changes or minor? What do you think that needs to be done in Toronto?
Oh, this is the $1 million question, Rick. It's different. I don't know how you come back with everyone, the way it was again after a 5th straight, disappointing spring. I'm not saying that you blow it up. I'm not saying that you trade everybody or you fire everybody, but I don't know how you don't come back with some change. I look at it's hard to say who. I mean, I think Marner would probably be the one. I mean, this is just me, spitballing. Marner would be the one the most likely of the players. I just don't know how you can come back. Like I mentioned, I mean, I don't think that nibbling around the edges on the bottom pair or like the bottom 6 is enough this time. But it's hard to move money. It's hard to make salary or hockey trades with the salary cap. So it'll be interesting when they have the debrief later this week with Dubas. It'll be very fascinating because I did ask about Sheldon Keefe about the old adage of will versus skill in the playoffs, and these guys, for whatever reason, they can't get it done, and Montreal was able to will themselves to this victory. On paper, there's no reason for the Leafs to be cleaning up, picking up the pieces this morning and this afternoon here. They're on paper they should have absolutely run them over even without Tavares. But the skill that they have is they just aren't able to put it together with the will.
You've had the high-profile coach, Mike Babcock, with this group. You've had the rookie coach, and now, Sheldon Keefe, he's got more experience. Is it coaching? Like, what kind of coach is required for this group?
Yeah, it's a good question because they got rid of the coach that everyone thinks they hated, Babcock. He would never play much Marner and Matthews together. You got the rookie coach, like you said, who's basically, is a Dubas disciple. They've been together since, the OHL. In Sault Ste. Marie, so there's a long history. They think the game the same way. They believe in the game being played the same, in the same fashion. At the same time, like these last 2 years with Keefe have been, there's the pandemic year and then the bubble and then there's the All-Canadian division. I don't think that he's in trouble. Like I think he deserves at least one full season. But it's a good question because they had different types of coaches. They've added the veterans to help them. They've they got rid of the coach, like I mentioned, Babcock. They brought in a coach that's more of a player's coach. They gave these guys a ton of money. With little regard of what the trickle-down effect would be on the roster with having to pay everyone else, more. So they've given these guys pretty much everything, and they haven't delivered. So, there's some serious questions. I think that the coaching side, I mean, I'd be surprised if Sheldon Keefe. I think if Dubas is there, Keefe is there. But you never know. There's things can change quick, and there's a very angry fan base and billion-dollar companies that own this team. So it'll be fascinating.
Okay, Josh, we've gone as we let you go here. One more, if you don't mind. We've gone on and on about the Leafs. We haven't talked much about what the Habs, other than drafting Carey Price in 2005. What did the Habs do well in this series?
You know what, they fought. They dug deep. They had a rough season. We know that it was trying time. They fired Claude Julien, and then they bring in Dominic Ducharme, and they have a bump up, and then they have the COVID, and then they have injuries, but they found a way. Bergevin deserves credit for some of his signings, like Corey Perry from the bargain bin. A couple of days before training camp, a great signing. They just figured out a way to plant a seed of doubt, and the Leafs just never really pushed back, and just not to talk about Leafs again, but the Habs played games 5, 6, and 7 like they were elimination games, and the Leafs talked about how they were going to play like they were elimination games, and they never did. And so that's the difference. It really is the will over skill, like I mentioned earlier. Like the Montreal Canadiens had it, they believed, and the Leafs didn't. Josh,
hope that sun keeps rising in Toronto. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks, guys. Happy to be on anytime.
You bet. Josh Clipperton from the Canadian Press. He covers the Leafs.